JVing is the only way to find success in the real estate in 2023. You think you could do the entire thing by yourself, but you have to have at least a seller and a buyer, and those are your partner. I promise you, you can't do it alone.
You're not Superman, you know.
I know this from experience because when I first got started investing in real estate, I was trying to keep all the deals for myself. I wanted 100% of the profit. I didn't want to share with anyone anything because every dollar meant so much to me. But all it's really doing is limiting your deal flow and actually your deal size. The reason why you should JV in real estate, and specifically in wholesaling, because it allows you to do more deals and do larger deals. So there's three different components in wholesaling real estate. There is lead generation, there's converting those leads to contracts, and there's going to find buyers for those deals. And if you think of this whole process as a conveyor belt, and you are doing all three components, let's say you're cold calling. So you are cold calling nonstop different sellers trying to generate more leads. And let's say you found one and it's like, cool, I got a lead. Let me go try to convert this person and get him under contract. And you spend all of your time now trying to analyze the deal and try to get it under contract and all this kind of stuff. Then no one is out getting more leads for you to close. So then that lead falls through, and then you go back and it's time to make some more cold calls. You were able to convert a lead and get it under contract. And now it's time to go find a buyer. You are on the cusp of making money, but you know what you're not doing? As you're going out cold calling buyers, texting them, trying to find a way to make a little bit of money on this deal, is that you are no longer following up with the other leads, and you are no longer cold calling to generate more leads. Because on an average, I want to say it's like between 25 if you're a good closer and 50 leads if you are an average closer. So in order for you to close one wholesale deal, you got to generate 50 leads most likely. If you're a good salesperson, you need to generate 25. While you're out finding a buyer, the rest of your business isn't happening. You have lost lead flow. So if you even do find a buyer, which you might not because you're not that great at sales yet, you're not that great at generating leads yet, that you probably aren't going to make money on the dispo side of things quite yet. Maybe you get lucky and you do, but once you do close a deal, you have to go back and start all the way over by cold calling all these leads to generate the 25 or the 50 that you need. And then it's time to follow up with them, get them under contract, then you're back to dispositions. And it is a messy cycle going back, jumping between the different processes. So we were in this loop for a long time, that we were doing the cold calling, we were doing the follow-ups, and we were doing the dispositions between me and my business partner. Yes, there was two of us, so it was a little bit easier than most people starting out on their own, but we still had that problem. It was a little bit of a messy system, but what it didn't allow us to do is get good at anything, because we had no experience in all three stages. So we were trying to learn everything at the exact same time. And the biggest problem with this is that you don't get good at anything. By not JVing, your deals are actually smaller and fewer in between. And the reason why I mean by that they're smaller is that if you have someone that specializes in marketing, someone who specializes in closing, and someone who specializes in dispositions, someone who just spends all their time generating more leads, they're going to generate you more better leads all the time, so that the closer they're going to be able to do is actually get the properties under contract at a lower price than what you were able to do. Conversely, someone who specializes in dispositions is probably going to find a buyer who's willing to pay a little bit more money than what your buyer would have to been. So if you use someone who's better at closing and someone who is better at dispositions, it's going to make a bigger spread for you to share. Not only is you going to make more money, but they are going to increase the chances of you closing on either side, so that you don't have to generate as many leads to close the same number of deals. Or if you generate the same number of leads, you just close more often. So you're probably wondering, what do you do? Where do you start? So this is actually what we did. So me and my business partner took this in phases, and I wish we would have jumped all the way into this. So the first thing that we removed ourselves from doing is the cold calling. We hired REI call center. I believe we started out with one cold caller, then quickly jumped to two. I was cold calling like 600 a day, and they went immediately up to 1,000 or 2,000 a day from their two cold callers, and they're better systems than what we have. And this was a huge burden off of my back from cold calling sellers all day, because we were not good at sales yet, and we weren't good at dispositions yet. We were doing a deal like every 4 to 8 weeks, so sometimes 2 months, sometimes we do a deal a month back to back. And the next big leap was when we started JVing with someone doing our dispositions. Both of these allowed us to hone in and focus on our sales. We have expanded our cold calling operation. Now we have 4 cold callers and a texter in our JV operation as well. We have one JV team that handles Savannah, Wilmington, Virginia, and we also offer disposition for other wholesalers in the Atlanta market. Now, if anything is outside of our markets like Atlanta and Columbus, Georgia, we are going to exclusively partner with other people to JV those deals for us. It is such a burden not having to worry about going out and taking pictures, scheduling appointments, finding buyers, and it allows us to focus on our Atlanta market and closing more deals. I know it's a tough concept to grasp that you have to give away part of your deal in order to do more, but once you start realizing that, hey, you get to focus on one aspect of the real estate game, you start giving yourself a chance to be good at it. And you're adding value to other people and their companies so that they are going to add value to you. The thing about marketing, sales, and dispositions is that marketing you could do from anywhere. That's why we're able to close deals from Atlanta in any of the markets that we work in. But when it comes to dispositions, I highly recommend JVing with someone that has boots on the ground in that market. It just takes a huge burden off of your chest as well as everyone on your teams when you know that if you need to go meet a seller at a house, you need to go take pictures or whatever it may be, that someone is there to be able to do that. You're probably wondering now what part of the wholesale process should you do and what parts of the process should you JV out. And it really depends on your skills, your finances, and your personality. Obviously, if you're a natural salesperson, you should focus on the sales aspect of things. Or if you're more of a relationship building type of person, maybe go the route of doing dispositions. If you have some money that you can invest, I would highly recommend checking out the lead generation because that is the one that actually costs the most money. Sales requires a large amount of skill, a ton of humility and grit to be able to overcome objections and to get rejected over and over and over and over again. And the dispositions is more relationship based thing. So if you're someone that likes connecting with other wholesalers, agents, and buyers, then that might be a good fit for you. I highly recommend choosing one, maybe 2 of these different steps in the process and focus on those and JV out the other 2. If you don't have a lot of time to follow up with sellers and you just want to do work whenever a contract gets signed, you probably focus on the disposition side of things. My final tip when it comes to wholesaling is to treat it like a business. Wholesaling with sellers might be somewhat transactional, but your buyers and your other partners, those are 100% relationship based. You want to treat them with respect to make sure that they trust and rely on you, that you are looking out for the best of them. If you want to learn more about any phase of the wholesale business, whether it's marketing, sales, or dispositions, I highly recommend hitting that subscribe button. I'll be making more videos on the business side of real estate.